I was asking, like, it's we can't say that it's always been like this situation we are in right now, because when you look at the literature and whatnot, like books like Othello, the example I gave is that they give the impression that Africa was on top and Europe ilikuwa kaa ocha kidogo.
Who is Othello?
Othello is a book by Shakespeare. Othello was a trader who used to carry things from Africa and take them to Europe, and he was very wealthy. So most of Shakespeare's books are based on somebody whose life is ruined by a woman, like Romeo and Juliet, or Hamlet, or which other one? It's just basically that was his basic concept. That was the spinal cord of most of his stories. But from that story, Othello was very wealthy. He was very influential, and he was brought down because of the influence he had because of a girlfriend he had. But minus that, you look at the story and you look at where Othello was coming from I think it was somewhere in northwestern Africa, and he was very powerful and very wealthy. And Mariam had asked, is it that Africans are stupid? Because that's the tone she used. And it's something I've heard from other people. I've heard it from a trainer of athletes who kept on asking. He's very confused because he's always wondering why these people, they can run very fast, they can jump very high, they can do all these things, but they're not just disciplined to do whatever I'm telling them to do. Could it be cyclical that societies rise and fall? So this is just our time to be at the bottom, so to speak. Because if you look at a society like Mongolia had taken over almost all of Asia apart from China and most of Europe. But now, if you ask somebody to point to you where Mongolia is on the map, I doubt anybody in this group can do it. Nikikupatia map sasa, nikuwekea map ya dunia hivi, nikwambie nionyeshe pale Mongolia iko, hautaipata. So
iko jirani ya China.
Iko jirani ya China.
Mongolia, yes.
Mongolia.
Mongolia iko.
I just know of that massive statue they have of Genghis Khan, that silver statue they have. And could it be just something about patience? Because if you look now where Africa is heading and where Europe is heading in terms of numbers and statistics, especially of things which you cannot fight, like reproduction. The reproduction in Europe is very low. People are getting less children. In Africa, watu bado hapo wanadinyana like a nonsense. So eventually, will those things...
You have to be careful. You have to be careful when you say Africans are reproducing. Now you have to narrow it down and find out who are reproducing in Africa. Because if you look at all the troubled regions of Africa, whether it's CAR, Central African Republic, or the Cameroon area, or the Congo area, or the South Sudan area, or the Chad area, then you find the human toll is on the children. So then you have to ask yourself, why are the poorest of the society in Africa the one reproducing? The birth rate in Kenya is lowest in Kiambu and Murang'a, and highest in Mathare and Kibera. So it's not a good thing that we are reproducing, because it's the wrong people that are reproducing. Umeelewa your difference?
Nimeelewa, lakini still the future belongs to the people who are still there.
No, because the fundamentals are not there to sustain that future in the present. The future can only be built by strong fundamentals.
I think
good health care, good education.
George, you're making a mistake. Housing. George, because you're thinking that the future has to be more advanced than what. Okay, it's a basic human, let's say, like a fallacy. We assume that the future. There was a movie I watched with my brother when I was a kid. Unakumbuka TNT ama ilikuwa inaitwa TCM. There was TNT and then there was TCM, black and white movies, and there was this movie, 1940s movie and it started 1999. And then they were showing robots walking in the street. Robots walking in the street. It was a 1940s movie. And I was seated there with my brother, and we looked at each other, and we burst out laughing at, like, there are no robots walking in the streets in the 1990s, but the people in the 90s, 40s actually thought of that. Whatever situation comes up in the future, like, let's say, worst case scenario, like, let me just give a very fictitious, outrageous example. If an asteroid hits the planet right now, and we are taken back to dinosaur days, where it's survival, the people who are going to be at the top are going to be like the Kalahari Bushmen, because those are the people who are going to be able to survive in such as on the ground. People who are ordering Uber and ordering Uber Eats and wataenda wa kwanza. So things will shift. Just because you think advancement means technology and education, no, advancement means adaptation and survival.
Bro, you are in fantasy land right now. It sounds so good for you to convince yourself into inaction. Okay. But in reality, that is juniors are happy. Bro, look at the top universities in the world. Where are they?
The US and Europe.
Yes. What do you think that has done to generations of people in those, let's even say America and UK?
Yeah.
It has prepared tens of generations of people with the knowledge and the skill set to own the future.
Yeah. No, actually creates the future.
Reality. How old is Harvard? How old is what is the name of that big university in London, in Britain? Outside
Oxford.
London. Oxford, yes. What do you think that has done to the British society? What do you think Harvard, MIT, and all those other M institutions on the East Coast have done? Look at the demographics. Look at the socioeconomics data. Look at the corona rates in the northeast seaboard of America. They were the least affected because they live in a society whose fundamentals are strong. Now we are going back to where we started this conversation. You cannot compare a society that has Harvard, MIT, and in the case of Harvard for over 100 years, in case of what is the name of the book?
Oxford,
hundreds of years.
Cambridge, yeah.
The effect of that, then you compare it to an African setup where those those education institutions are replaced by religious institutions. So no, there is no big stone that is going to crash planet Earth and we're going to go back to Stone Age.
So is Mariam right? As what about Mariam's question about like?
I want to go somewhere with this. Okay. The societies that have heavily invested in technology and education are the ones that are going to continue to lead in the future, including the three major tiger countries in Asia and the small 5 major tigers in Asia. And add India to the list. Same colonization, more years of colonization in India than in Kenya. We got the accent and religion, and India got the technology and the skill set and the education. They kept their culture, they kept their religion.
How come? Because even Japan was colonized by...
We are now answering the question whether Africans are dumb, because that's where you wanted to go. Is it because Africans are dumb? You tell me. How long was India colonized?
Almost 200 years.
140-something years, 149, I think. How long was Kenya colonized? 79 years.
Yeah.
How come India looks like India and Kenya looks the way it looks? go even to Singapore. Longer, they were colonized longer, not Singapore, the other one. What is that big powerhouse country?
Malaysia.
No, the other one that's claimed by India. I mean, claimed by China.
Taiwan.
Yes. They were colonized more than twice as long as we were. Look at them. And look at us. Now answer your own question. Are Africans stupid?
Actually, yeah, it goes into, George, this topic, you've covered it a couple of times. Maybe you need to go there again. For Africans, it's about indiscipline. And you've always covered it very interestingly.
Yes, thank you.
And George, to go to the second topic that Wachira was covering about us producing labor force. Of course, we have a shortage of opportunities, but we are producing labor force, which would be very ideal for the developed countries that have shortage of labor force. But the problem is that we are producing indisciplined labor force, so we can't even fit in these other countries that need us. But they need us in our discipline, not in our indiscipline. So I've seen you posting enough videos of blacks and the way they go to behave in these other developed countries. We're always just a disgrace. We go to actually add more problems to them than to be part of the building society.